Diving fatalities are not a new phenomenon, but as waterproof cameras and advanced diving gear become more accessible, some of these heartbreaking moments are captured in chilling detail, offering us a rare and often haunting glimpse into the dangers lurking beneath the surface. Today, we look at 3 of the most horrifying diving clips caught seconds before disaster. Bushmans Hole, nestled in the northern Cape of South Africa, is one of the deadliest freshwater caves on Earth. With an estimated depth of 283 meters, it is the 3rd deepest freshwater cave in the world. Only the bravest, or perhaps the most daring, attempt to conquer its dark, suffocating abyss. On October 28, 2004, 50-year-old Dave Shaw, an experienced and determined diver, prepared to descend into Bushmans Hole. Despite his family's concerns and the cave's deadly reputation, Shaw was confident that his meticulous preparation would keep him safe. Little did he know that this dive would be his last. Bushmans Hole has claimed many lives, including that of Dion Dreyer, a 20-year-old diver who tragically drowned in 1994 during a routine practice dive. His body, never recovered, rested somewhere in the cave's dark, murky depths. Shaw, undeterred by the dangers, sought not only to explore the cave, but to bring Dion's body back to the surface, offering closure to his grieving family. 10 years after Dreyer's death, Shaw descended into the void. The deeper he went, the more the pressure mounted, the darkness closing in around him. Finally, at a depth of 270 meters, he made a chilling discovery. Dreyer's lifeless body, still dressed in his diving suit, lay on the cave floor, hands reaching upward. Shaw attempted to retrieve the remains, but the body was stuck deep in the muddy bottom. Low on air and pressed for time, he marked Dreyer's body with a reel and resurfaced, vowing to return and bring Dion home. 2 days later, on January 8, 2005, Shaw kept his promise. With the support of his team, including fellow diver Don Shirley, Shaw prepared for the grueling task of recovering Dreyer's remains. His plan was well rehearsed, down to the smallest detail. Shaw had even contacted forensic experts to understand the condition of the body, expecting to find mostly bone. Before his dive, Shaw warned his team, if something went wrong, they were not to risk their own lives trying to save him. "It's better to have 1 dead than 2, he said. With those haunting words, Shaw descended into the abyss once more. At 270 meters, Shaw reached Dreyer's body, but things didn't go as planned. The body wasn't in the condition he expected. It was in a gel-like state, making it difficult to handle. As Shaw struggled to secure Dreyer's remains in the body bag, his equipment became entangled with Dreyer's. He fought to free himself, but the physical exertion was draining his air supply. Panic set in. By the time his friend Don Shirley reached the agreed depth of 220 meters to meet him, something was horribly wrong. Shirley spotted Shaw's light in the distance, but realized that his friend wasn't moving. Shaw had succumbed to the deadly combination of oxygen toxicity and the overwhelming pressure of the deep. Shirley, battling his own equipment malfunctions, had no choice but to return to the surface, leaving his friend behind. 2 days later, both Shaw's and Dreyer's bodies were found floating near the cave's entrance. Shaw's final act had been in service of a promise to give Dion Dreyer's family the closure they'd long awaited, and though it cost him his life, Shaw's team managed to bring both bodies to the surface, keeping his promise to Dreyer's family. There are places that history forgets, places left abandoned, decaying with time, but still harboring the echoes of a dangerous past. One such place is the Venod Soviet nuclear base, located in the small village of Venod in southern Kine. Once a hub of Cold War activity, it now stands as a relic of a bygone era. But in 2011, this forgotten base would claim a life in a way that no one expected. During the Cold War, tensions between the Soviet Union and the United States were at an all-time high. In 1960, the Soviets constructed their first military base in Venod, one of many hidden missile sites built to hold intercontinental ballistic missiles, ready to launch at a moment's notice. But by 1978, the missiles were removed and the base was abandoned, left to decay and fill with water over the decades. Despite its dangerous history, the base remained unguarded and unmarked. No fences, no warnings, just an eerie silence that invited the curious. And on June 12, 2011, two Lithuanian divers, Adis Sidinvicius and Vidas Filas, found it. Experienced cave divers, they were drawn to the mystery of the Soviet base and saw it as an exciting new spot to explore. Their first dive was a success. They ventured into the flooded silo, navigating through dark corridors, discovering remnants of Soviet technology untouched for nearly 40 years. Excited by what they found, they surfaced to share their discovery with their friend, Linus Jas, who joined them for a second dive. Days later, the three divers returned, eager to dive deeper into the labyrinth of silos and corridors. This time, they descended into a second silo, which was 34 meters deep. Armed with only small air tanks and a single flashlight, they ventured into the unknown. But as they explored, something went terribly wrong. As the divers swam deeper into the silo, they disturbed the thick layer of silt that had settled on the floor for decades. It rose around them, creating a dense, impenetrable cloud. Visibility dropped to zero in an instant. The three divers were now lost, disoriented in complete darkness. They had made two critical mistakes: no guide rope and only one light between them. In cave diving, a guide rope is a lifeline. Without it, the divers had no possible way to trace their path back to the surface. Panic set in as their air supplies dwindled, and in the chaos, the trio became separated. Vidas and Linus, by sheer luck, managed to find the exit and surface. Gasping for breath, they looked around, expecting to see Adis following close behind. But Adis wasn't there. Fear turned to dread as minutes passed, and their friend didn't emerge from the water. Adis Sidinvicius, an experienced diver, had run out of air. Lost in the dark, suffocating depths of the silo, he tragically drowned. At just 41 years old, Adis's life was cut short by a combination of unfortunate circumstances and overlooked safety measures. Seasoned divers would later point out the critical errors made that day: the lack of a guide rope, insufficient lighting, and the decision to dive in such a treacherous environment without proper equipment all contributed to the deadly outcome. Even without the silt clouding their vision, the labyrinth of corridors and rooms designed to confuse intruders would have made escape nearly impossible. Today, the Venod silo remains, standing as a silent witness to this tragedy. Though it's now a tourist attraction, with museums and tours dedicated to its history, the site still lacks warning signs to prevent others from entering its dangerous depths. One of the most dangerous dive sites in the world is Blue Hole, located in the Red Sea off Egypt's coast. Famous for its treacherous depths, Blue Hole has claimed the lives of many divers over the years, including 22-year-old Yuri Lipsky, a tragic death that remains a mystery despite being caught on camera. On April 28, 2000, Yuri Lipsky, a confident and experienced diving instructor, embarked on what would be his final dive. Refusing offers of additional training, Yuri believed his skills were enough. At 5 p.m., he joined a group of divers for what he planned to be a straightforward descent into a cave called the Arch, located 100 feet below the surface. With his gear checked and his helmet camera recording, Yuri plunged into the depths. Initially, everything seemed fine. Yuri descended into the blue, leaving his group behind, determined to reach the Arch. But he quickly realized he had missed his target and was now at 140 feet, much deeper than planned. In a sudden turn of events, his buoyancy control device failed, and Yuri began to free fall into the crushing darkness. He could have dropped his weights or the faulty buoyancy device to slow his descent, but he didn't. Disoriented by oxygen toxicity and nitrogen narcosis, dangerous conditions caused by deep diving, Yuri's judgment was severely impaired. He continued sinking, reaching a depth of 300 feet, teetering on the edge of a cliff that plunged into a 1,000-foot drop. At this depth, Yuri was under immense pressure, 30 times that at sea level. In the video recorded by his helmet camera, his panic is palpable as he struggles to activate his equipment, but it was too late. Trapped in the abyss, Yuri's body gave in to the effects of nitrogen narcosis, a condition that mimics extreme intoxication. He thrashed, hallucinating, before finally succumbing to his fate. 7 minutes after entering the water, Yuri Lipsky was dead. His official cause of death was ruled as nitrogen narcosis and oxygen toxicity, conditions that often claim the lives of inexperienced divers. But Yuri was no rookie. This begs the question, why did such an experienced diver make such fatal errors? Some speculate that Yuri was attempting a bounce dive, a dangerous maneuver where divers descend quickly and use the seafloor to push themselves back up. If so, it proved fatal. One major issue was that Yuri was diving alone. Without a partner to help him, Yuri faced the dangers of the deep entirely on his own. Another key factor was his equipment. Yuri used a standard oxygen tank, suitable for shallow dives, rather than a specialized gas mixture required for deep diving to prevent toxic gas buildup. Had he not been under the intoxicating effects of nitrogen narcosis, he would have known to drop his weight belt and float back to safety.